1996, Spokane is on the verge of realizing it has a serial killer on the loose. In June, the first victim is found in a wooded area in the foothills of Mount Spokane. By the end of 97, the body count would be at 6. Spokane's serial killer hid behind the cloak of a society that didn't care about his victims because all of them were prostitutes. And that brings us to tonight's notorious crime, murder in the park, where the killer was hiding in plain sight and willing to take a bullet for his crime. Kirsten O'Connor picks up the story in 96.
Upper Lincoln Park on Spokane South Hill looks very much today as it did in 1996. There's a single trail, a pond, and this parking lot. It was here on November 3rd, 1996. A hound dog tried to pick up the scent of a killer. 39-year-old Patty DiBartolo and her husband Tom, a sheriff's deputy, were going for an evening walk in the park. But the walk took a deadly turn when Patty was shot in the head and Tom suffered a wound to the torso. Tom told investigators that he and Patty were victims of a robbery gone wrong. From there, the mystery would only grow. Patty DiBartolo died on a Saturday night, shot once in the head. Her husband says she was caring and precious.
She was your mom. That's what she was. She was your mom. You can take that to your heart and just know that if you feel about your mom how you do, then she was your mom.
He told police the two were walking at Lincoln Park at night when two men demanded money, struggled with the gun, then shot them. A bullet went through Tom DiBartolo's torso, but he says it did not hit any major organs.
This is, it's not supposed to happen to us. We're the good guys, and it obviously can.
Tom was a Marine deputy and a diver, seen here in the early 90s. He says his wife joined in, coordinating emergency response to the rescues, helping people out.
Instead of vengeance, I know that I need to have faith. I need to have faith.
DiBartolo says he wishes he could use his skills as a deputy in the investigation, but he says he will keep the faith that police will be able to track down the killers.
The people that did this, their fate is already sealed. It's sealed in God's eyes. And if justice is not to be shown to me, then at the Day of Atonement, justice will be shown.
Police say there were no witnesses. Suffering from a gunshot wound, Tom DiBartolo drove his gravely injured wife to Sacred Heart Emergency Room. He survived. She didn't. The next morning, Lincoln Park was filled with investigators and volunteers looking for any evidence that would lead them to the killer. There was some evidence of a shooting, but the biggest thing, a description of the attackers, was missing. Our Carrie Tomlinson was there when the pond was searched.
Divers checked the pond at Lincoln Park, looking for evidence, a gun or a jacket. Deputy Tom DiBartolo was himself a diver, seen here as a Marine deputy 6 years ago. He told police he and his wife Patty were walking in the park when two people demanded money and shot them. He described the suspect's gun as a blue steel snub-nosed .38 revolver.
There you go.
Divers use a law enforcement gun to calibrate their metal detectors to make sure they wouldn't pass over the murder weapon. But so far, no word of a weapon found during the search. Senior police volunteers are also looking along Southeast Boulevard in case the suspects used this road to escape and threw something out a car window.
It's a very general kind of category. Just kind of grasping for anything that might be a lead at this point.
Police Chief Terry Mangan at last released a vague description of two suspects. He says investigators are looking at every possible explanation for what happened.
There were no witnesses to this crime other than the suspects and the victims, so we have to check out all of the possibilities in the case.
Park neighbors like Mary Margaret Brassich are waiting for any answer so they can feel safe again.
Yes, it's very nerve-wracking when it's only about half a block away from your house and that these people are on the loose and nobody knows they are. But this neighborhood needs to be, have a little better surveillance, I think, so.
The crime hit investigators hard. One of their own had been shot, his wife murdered in a park. It also hit hard on the people who worked with Patty. The office is busy on this Wednesday afternoon in 1996. Members of the Telco Credit Union are donating money to the trust fund set up in Patty DiBartolo's memory.
I was glad to do it. It's a very sad thing.
But time stands still for Patty. Her desk empty, except for flowers placed there by a coworker. And her calendar turned to the day she died.
She had a lot of potential. but she had a lot of heart, too.
Her husband, Deputy Tom DiBartolo, says the two were walking at Lincoln Park Saturday night when two men attacked them, shooting him in the torso, Patty in the head. He said Tuesday that his wound, though not serious, is a painful reminder of what happened.
I'm dealing with it every moment, and it keeps me focused on what happened. And so I remember it. I'll remember it a long time, and the people that did this will remember it.
It is painful for her coworkers at the credit union. Her manager says Patty DiBartolo was an intense worker, dedicated, a whiz with computers.
She's a quick learner, and she just got on to everything. She always had a positive attitude. When things were down, she was up, and she did her job so professionally.
Despite the efforts of volunteers searching here along Southeast Boulevard, evidence was hard to come by. Several weeks later, the investigation took a turn. Tom DiBartolo had been playing the part of a mourning husband who wanted to do everything he could to help catch his wife's killer. Then police announced the bullet that killed Patty came from her own gun. The wheels of justice that seemed to be turning so slowly did a U-turn and returned to the scene of the crime, where investigators could only find evidence of two people, Patty and her husband of 19 years, Tom. In late January of 1997, investigators had a clear picture of what happened that fateful night in Lincoln Park. Investigators kept poring over their notes and evidence, and the focus on the suspects narrowed. Investigators began to believe the two shadowy figures of who disappeared into the night without a trace were just that, phantoms, and the real killer was hiding in plain sight. Investigators say Tom DiBartolo changed his story about what happened that night in Lincoln Park. At first, they attributed the discrepancies to grief Tom appeared to be experiencing after his wife's death. But as the investigation continued, many things, they say, simply didn't add up. The information came from a 9-page affidavit filed in Superior Court. It says Tom's account of the struggle for the weapon went like this. He says a suspect pulled Patty DiBartolo's .38 caliber pistol from the glove box of their van and that he was wounded while struggling with the suspect near the open passenger side door. But the affidavit cites ballistic reports that say the bullet entered the door from the outside and that the door was closed. 2 days after his wife's death, Tom talked about his wound. He says the suspect held the gun in his right hand when it was fired, but investigators say gunpowder samples taken from Tom's shirt and skin suggest the suspect would have had to hold the gun sideways or upside down for the marks to match up. Tom says he left his off-duty weapon in his vehicle while he and his wife were out for a stroll, but family members tell investigators Tom carried his weapon wherever he went. Gunpowder tests found residue inside Tom's jacket pocket, gunpowder that is consistent with .38 caliber ammunition. Investigators suggest Patty's pistol, the one that killed her, was placed in Tom's pocket after it was fired. Tom claims the suspects ran away with the gun and that he never had it in his possession. Tom says he called 911 while driving his wife to the hospital at a high rate of speed. Audio analysis shows there was no background noise during that call. By late January, investigators believed they had their man, one of their own. They believed DiBartolo made up the story of being attacked as a cover-up for murder. Arcadia Eldridge told the story in 1997.
It's been nearly 3 months since Patty DiBartolo was shot and killed in Lincoln Park.
We followed up on every possible theory of the investigation, every possible tip, every possible suspect.
Now authorities say Patty's husband, Spokane County Sheriff Deputy Tom DiBartolo, is the man who killed her. They say DiBartolo shot his wife and then himself to make the incident look like a robbery attack.
Certainly, there are a number of contradictions that, at first, when they emerged, could have been attributed perhaps to the trauma that Mr. DiBartolo had suffered, considering the loss of his wife and his own wounds. But as the investigation progressed, it became evident that there were some contradictions that obviously needed to be addressed.
Investigators questioned DiBartolo for more than 5 hours yesterday. After that interview, the deputy was arrested for first-degree murder.
Mr. DiBartolo was seemed calm and non-committal, I would say.
DiBartolo is being held in the Spokane County Jail without bail. He is also away from the rest of the inmate population for safety reasons. At the Spokane County Jail, Katie Eldridge, KXLY4 Total News.
One of the threads that started to unravel DiBartolo's story, Patty had told family members that she and Tom started taking walks at Lincoln Park several weeks before the shooting. Court documents at the time revealed contradictions and led investigators to only one answer.
The tables are turned for Tom DiBartolo. After years of upholding the law, he's now going to jail, accused of murdering his wife. DiBartolo told investigators and News 4 that robbers shot Patty DiBartolo in Lincoln Park on November 3rd. But for police, there were too many contradictions between that story and hard evidence.
I think when we got the returns from the lab and we started to analyze those and compare them with statements and so forth, it led to the point where it became critical that we do an in-depth interview, if at all possible, with Mr. DiBartolo.
It's shot.
Ward Crawford is still coming to terms with what his friend may have done.
Not only was he one, who wore the badge, but, he was a friend and somebody who, I had a lot of respect for.
But court documents suggest there was a darker side to DiBartolo, a side some of his friends knew nothing about. According to this 9-page affidavit, investigators received reports that DiBartolo was having at least 2 extramarital affairs and that he and Patty were considering divorce. Now, with his arrest, authorities are getting even more tips on his private life. Information that is likely to shock people like Ward Crawford, who thought they knew this man.
He would do anything for anybody. He just had that personality, and that was what made him up. And that was kind of what I wanted to be, you get that role model thing. And to have that role model suddenly get thrown in jail it's gone.
A little more than a year after Patty was murdered, Tom went on trial, and all the details behind the crime came out.
A security camera at Sacred Heart Hospital captured these images. It's Tom DiBartolo bringing his fatally wounded wife to the emergency room. Almost 2 minutes after his arrival, Patty DiBartolo's body is carried inside on a gurney. Shortly before these pictures were taken, DiBartolo made a phone call.
I'm bleeding. I got hit in the side. All right. Yeah. Okay. Sir? Yeah. Sir, give me your name. DiBartolo. Okay.
That's DiBartolo's frantic voice calling 911 for help.
I'm doing fine, man. She's hurt. She got hit bad. Okay, sir.
But prosecutors say it's all an act. They claim DiBartolo planned to kill his wife and then carried it out.
This case is about selfishness, extramarital affairs, money.
Prosecutor Jim Sweetser told jurors that DiBartolo killed his wife to avoid a messy divorce and to collect $100,000 in life insurance.
To enjoy vacations and relationships with other women without the burden of his wife.
One of those relationships, Sweetser says, occurred while the former deputy was still in the hospital. Sweetser says a nurse saw a blonde woman in DiBartolo's room.
The defendant's lying in the bed. She observes them passionately kissing for a long period of time, for over a minute, only hours after Patty DiBartolo, the mother of his children, had been murdered.
It was prosecutors who did most of the talking today. Defense attorneys have chosen to wait. They will make their opening statements when they present their case. And it could be a while because prosecutors plan to call well over 100 people. At the Spokane County Courthouse, Mike Keckler, Total News 4.
When it came time for DiBartolo's defense team to take the stage, they took the offensive, trying to beat prosecutors to the punch and have DiBartolo answer the tough questions first.
This is how Tom DiBartolo's attorney ended her questioning of her own client.
Are you responsible for the death of your wife?
No, I am not responsible. No.
Did you shoot your wife in the head?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot her for insurance money?
Objection, this is leading. Overruled.
Did you shoot her for insurance money?
No, I did not shoot my wife for any reason.
Did you shoot your wife in the back of the head to get out of paying child support?
No, I did not.
Marianne Marino is trying to take some of the wind out of the prosecution's sails by beating them to the tough questions. She admits her client was not the best husband. She even asked him about his extramarital affairs.
Did you have affairs during those 19 years?
Yes, I did.
Once in a while or pretty regularly?
Pretty regular.
Were these serious relationships or were they for sex?
They were not serious relationships.
What were they for then?
They were for sex.
Marino will try to convince the jury that being a bad husband does not make Tom DiBartolo a murderer.
He couldn't save his wife that night. He was a failure. He was afraid. He'd screwed up. He'd left his gun. He panicked.
When it came time for the prosecutor to ask questions, he didn't hold back, and neither did DiBartolo. The former deputy squared off in a heated verbal battle with prosecutor Larry Steinmetz over whether or not he was guilty of murdering his wife. Here's part of that cross-examination.
Sir, why is it that your wife received an executionary-style bullet to the back of her head? How is it that this person is such a marksman?
I grabbed his hand. The gun went off.
Executionary style?
I wouldn't call it that. I said the gun went off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dealing with the fact that I may have...
You may have what, sir?
I may have caused the gun to go off, okay? By grabbing the son of a bitch. That's what I'm dealing with every day, okay?
Your version of events are inconsistent with the physical evidence, aren't they, Mr. DiBartolo?
My version of the events are what I remember and what happened that night. And what physical evidence you've brought before us today or the other day, sir, is what you've brought. I can't tell you. All I can tell you is what I did that night and what happened. That's it.
Mr. DiBartolo, can you provide a plausible and believable explanation in regard to the physical evidence and the testimony of the state's witnesses, other than you murdered your wife and your statements and conduct backfired on you?
Yeah, they're on the wrong road.
Who's on the wrong road?
You. Them.
Who's them?
Fingers been pointed in the wrong direction. The people that did this are still out there. The people that killed Patty are still out there. They bit into me and they held on to me. That's all they've done. There's no way I killed Patty.
The trial of Tom DiBartolo lasted 24 days. Patty's family watched. A long list of experts, witnesses, family, even a few of DiBartolo's lovers took the stand. Cindy Corris takes a look back at the entire trial.
It began with a parade of experts. The emergency call Tom DiBartolo made after the shootings. Then there were the women who had affairs with DiBartolo while he was married. All the time, Patty's family watched and waited.
I want him to look at me. I just want to, I have the feeling that he should look at me, but he won't do it.
But DiBartolo did tell his version of the night Patty was murdered. It was what we had all waited to hear.
It's a young black man walking up. His hands are down at his sides, but he's heading towards me. He laughs. He says, "Ha, found your piece." He says, "Maybe we ought to just cap your ass." And as he pulled away, he shot again.
Did you get hit?
Yeah. I realized she was on the ground. Oh, God, no. Let her be okay.
One day after he cried on the stand, Tom DiBartolo became defiant under cross-examination.
Sir, why is it that your wife received an executionary-style bullet to the back of her head? How is it that this person is such a marksman?
I grabbed his hand. The gun went off.
Executionary style?
I wouldn't call it that. I said the gun went off. I'm dealing with the fact that I may have...
You may have what, sir?
I may have caused the gun to go off, okay? By grabbing the son of a bitch. That's what I'm dealing with every day, okay?
Sure.
Good. There's no way I killed Patty.
For 2 days, DiBartolo never wavered in his claim of innocence. And all the while, Patty DiBartolo's family listened, watched, and waited for the final word from the jury. Cindy Corris, Total News 4.
After more than 2.5 days of deliberations, the jury came back with its verdict. 12 people unanimously agreed Tom DiBartolo shot and killed his wife Patty in Lincoln Park. They convicted the former sheriff's deputy of first-degree murder.
The verdict took 25 hours to reach, but only a moment to read.
Mr. DiBartolo, would you stand, please? We, the jury, find the defendant, Thomas Anthony DiBartolo, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree.
The former deputy looked at the ceiling, then shook his head in disbelief.
Tom, what's your reaction to the verdict?
His former colleagues led him away in handcuffs.
Excuse us. Excuse me.
Past the cameras and down the long hallway to his jail cell.
Tom, what do you want to say about this? Back up, guys, all the way to the door.
Keep going, keep going. All the way back. Tom, what do you want to say? All the way back, fellas. Tom, what about the guilty verdict?
When we get the door.
I got it.
Okay.
Back in the courtroom, family members hugged each other before making their way out into the glare of the media.
Do you mind talking to us for a moment on camera?
DiBartolo's brother, mother, and sister all refused to comment, but his 2 oldest children were willing to talk.
Relief. A lot of relief. It's finally over. Finally move on.
Nick DiBartolo and Michelle Robinson both testified against their father. Both were convinced long ago that he killed their mother.
It's extremely hard, especially when you're at home. That's why I ended up moving out.
The verdict, they say, gives them some closure.
Start to feel peace with my mom. Start the healing process. We're fine. All of us are going to be fine.
15-year-old Katrina DiBartolo and her younger brother and sister all supported their father. Katrina even testified for him.
It's not a celebration on my part. It's not a celebration on anyone's part. This is a tragedy that tore some children apart.
It's now up to Bobby Harrison to try to mend the children's wounds. She is Patty DiBartolo's sister, and unlike the children in her care, she feels like justice was done.
It leaves me with custody of those children. I intend to provide them a home forever. And they've always been aware of my feelings, and I've been aware of their feelings, but they're strongly attached to me, and so we're going to be okay.
My daughter's been dead for a year now, and I'll heal.
Patty DiBartolo's parents are ready to move on too. They'll try to put this terrible year behind them.
I feel better now, don't you?
Yes.
Today at Lincoln Park, someone placed a purple ribbon near the place where Patty DiBartolo died, where a jury says she was executed by her own husband.
This is all true. Tom was my brother-in-law for 19 years, and this is all true, and there's no doubt to it that this really happened.
Former Spokane Sheriff's Deputy Tom DiBartolo was sentenced to 26 years in prison for murdering his wife. The judge said that is all the law allows, but family members were split over how long DiBartolo's prison sentence should be. Mike Keckler spoke to those family members back then.
Floyd Reeves waited a long time for this day to finally confront the man who killed his daughter.
He had the nerve to shoot my daughter in the back of the head. He had the nerve to shoot himself in the side to cover up the crime. But he doesn't have the guts to stand up and tell his kids he's sorry for what he's done.
Tend to your children's needs.
Ed Gorman used to be Tom DiBartolo's best friend. Today he ended that friendship.
You have this conflict that you've created between your relatives, your friends, and those people in charge of raising your children. I want you to understand right now that I am no longer your friend.
Both asked Judge Neil Riley to impose a 50-year prison sentence, while DiBartolo's sister Maria pleaded for leniency.
I beg that you give my brother a sentence. I cannot convince you that he's not guilty, but at least give him a sentence that will allow him the time to deal with the problems that he needs to deal with, because I believe he does have some problems.
This is a divided family right down to the children. Son Nick wanted the longer sentence.
I don't understand how anybody can cause so much pain. It's a pain that just doesn't go away.
Daughter Katrina, who we weren't allowed to show, asked the judge to show mercy on her father.
This is our father's life and a kid's life. When I get 20 years, I will be 35. He won't have been there for my graduation, for my 16th birthday in a couple months, for anything.
It was an agonizing day for the entire family. The defendant repeatedly professed his innocence, even when he turned and addressed his wife's family.
I did not kill Patty. If these shoulders are strong enough to bear the weight of your hatred, then I'll do that. If I can help you get through this by bearing what's happening here today, I will do that. I have no choice.
But the judge wasn't swayed.
Tom DiBartolo is a murderer, nothing more, nothing less. I'm satisfied with that.
He said given the evidence, the jury did the right thing in convicting DiBartolo, and he sent the former deputy to prison for 26 years, saying it was the best he could do.
The irony is, and I must tell you this, the irony is, I think Tom DiBartolo deserves longer than 20 to 26 years. I truly do.
Tom DiBartolo walked out of prison a free man in 2020. He's believed to be living in the Spokane area. He has always maintained his innocence. Thank you for watching. We hope